Thank you, Subha. As the system, from the point of volunteering, volunteering has evolved quite a bit from just being pure vanilla flavored volunteering. Today we are talking about social volunteering, we're talking of largely skill-based volunteering, we're talking of virtual volunteering, which is again on the rise, micro volunteering. Some of them basically sound more fancy than anything else. Uh, with Junior Achievement and Dream a Dream, if you all could probably run me through what are the different types of volunteers that you'll engage across? And is there something that's come out, especially in terms of being more new age, that you would like to share with the participants across?
So when you say what kind of volunteers, any kind of volunteer. We work a lot with different age groups, usually people who are young, people who are either working, people who are either studying. But having said that, we also have a good group of people who are senior citizens who want to come and just contribute their time and skill to anything that is worthwhile. Some of the interesting concepts that are new concepts in volunteering, especially in India, one is micro-volunteering. So you have a big project for which you want a lot of people to come in to support you in terms of their time and skill. The requirement for the project might be something like 100 hours. Will you be able to find one volunteer to do that project? Usually the answer is no. One person who is a skilled professional to actually come and contribute 100 hours into an organization might be a little difficult. What organizations have started doing now is breaking that same project into smaller portions. I think when Venkatesh sir mentioned about this entire event being organized by volunteers, I'm sure they would have taken portions of event organization. They would have taken one bits and pieces, broken it down, and each person would have contributed to one piece. That is something which is micro-volunteering, where you break a big project into things that can be done in half an hour, 1 hour. Designing a poster, designing a room, making sure that you have a venue, making sure you have speakers present in the panel, all of that. The second very interesting aspect which has come up now is something which is known as virtual volunteering, where the volunteer might not be present in the field. The person might not be actively involved in your field level programs, but yes, it's someone who wants to connect with you, has read about you. And social media today is a wonderful platform to attract such volunteers. How do they want to contribute? Again, anything that can be done online. Maybe if you want a module designed, you want maybe a training content translated into another language. You don't really want a person coming into the office for that. You can actually get it done on the internet. So two concepts I would like to share, and maybe Kamal will add on to that.
Like I said in the introduction, we mainly depend on corporate volunteers. Why corporate volunteering? First, it's more sellable. If I go and talk to HR and talk about team building, volunteering is the best form of team building, because outside of the environment of work, you get together with your colleagues and see a different side of them. And interpersonal skills, job skills, everything is improved while you're volunteering. So that is one of the key things that we use. Second thing, in corporate volunteering, when they come as a team, there is no pressure on an individual. So the pressure is transferred, it's shared. Third, even one or two people are missing, the program still continues. Fourth, when they go back and sit in their offices and during lunchtime, there's something to talk about. So involuntarily, they're volunteering for your organization, talking about it more outside. If there's only one person, then that person will be left out in the conversation. So most of them are talking about common things all the time. Fourth, the other important aspect of corporate volunteering is, like she said, volunteering is possible. So all of them might not be interested in coming and standing in front of people and talking, but they might be really good at admin work. They might be really good at organizing things. Probably they just love getting food from home to the volunteers. So there's some aspect of it that the workload that they want to share. I can give you an example. We have a huge supporter in Cognizant in Chennai region and Bangalore region. So they conduct programs where they reach out to 10,000 students in a day sometimes, where the food, the way it's packed, from the time where they pack the material, everything is taken care of by employees of Cognizant, and it's just split, and it just feels like a trip for them, a picnic for them. So they always really enjoy. The downside of corporate volunteering is, if I have to specify, when the personal changes, the person who is actually at the helm of things, who is pushing, motivating the rest of the team to work, if there is any change in that person's position, the system starts shaking. So you'll have to always look for internal champions. That is one aspect I always try to remember. Second, we always look for individual volunteers. Individual volunteers are the most reliable people because they come and seek you. They have no hidden agenda. They just love the work that we do, and they come and join us. Skill-based volunteering. We have not directly used skill-based volunteering, but there are organizations that have proposed to give us skill-based volunteers. JP Morgan is one of the organizations that was part of our board. At some point of time, they came and said, we'll improve your social media presence, like how you present yourself on Facebook, how do you present yourself on search engine optimizations, how do you publicize yourself, how do you communicate with the rest of the world. So there are certain PR people setting some guidelines for us how to communicate with the rest of the world. So skill-based volunteering has come as a proposal from the corporates that we are engaged with, rather than we specifically going looking for them. Virtual volunteering, yes. Most senior people that we have, we do not trouble them too much because they're really, really busy people. But we always try to engage them on really important things. When we have international competitions where students have to be mentored, where they go and compete with 14, 15 different countries, students from different countries, that's when we use our virtual presence. That's when our senior volunteers come into presence, help them brainstorm, help them create presentations, help them write concept papers, etc. So we try to split our volunteering amongst all of these. And the most important volunteering sector I have missed out is the student volunteering population. Because why I'm very keen on student volunteers is, one, it becomes part of their culture. Two, when they join an organization, during their first job, their immediate tendency is to go and find out what the CSR is doing. Even before somebody comes and offers them saying, these are the options to do, it's already inbuilt into their system to go and look for it. So we are actively looking at engaging volunteers at every different level, but each of them come with their own quirks and pros and cons. It's just our ability to handle them beyond that.
So what's becoming very evident is the various forms of volunteering that organizations are using out here. Anand and Mahantesh, if you could probably run us through, what are the efforts that you make as an organization before you actually engage and volunteer? What is it that you put together as a structure and system in place to be able to effectively engage volunteers even before they actually start off working with you? Is there something that you would like to share with us?
From the beginning, we have a relatively structured way of inviting and having volunteers. So, it's a very, very easy, like ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟವಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಏನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ನಿಯಮಾವಳಿಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಏನಂದರೆ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾವು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಅಥವಾ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾವು ಏನನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈಗ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಭಾಳ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವೆಬ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ವೆಬ್ಸೈಟಲ್ಲಿ. there is a form. So every day at least some 10-20 volunteer requests comes. So that is the preparation we have already created, which clearly details and indicates what are the areas where volunteers can involve. And we have provided the person's contact name, number and all. And they also need to tell their skills, their background and what they are, have they worked anywhere as volunteers. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ನಾವು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಲಲಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರೀತಾರೆ, ಕರೆದು ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತನಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಆನ್ಲೈನು. ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ನೀಡುಗಳು ಏನೇನಿದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ನ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾವು ಒದ್ದಾಡೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ವಿ ರಿಕ್ರೂಟ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಲೈಕ್ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್, ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಓದ್ಕೊಡೋದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಸ್ ಬರೆಯೋದಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಲಲಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ, ನಾವು 3,000 ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು, ನೀವು ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿವಸ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ 50ರಿಂದ 100 ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ನ ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೌಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸತಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಕೆಲಸ ಇರ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದೆಮ್ ಯಾವ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಬೀಳುತ್ತೋ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ರೆಡಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಎರಡು ಆಯಿತು. ಒಂದು ಅವರು ಬಂದು ಆಟ ನೋಡಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಬಟ್ ಲಲಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ನ್ಯೂ ದಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಸಮ್ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸೀಸ್. ಇತ್ತು ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸೀಸ್ ಬಂತು, ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಸೊ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು both online and offline, when volunteers walk in to the organization, we have a form which they first fill. Before we kind of put them straight into any activities, we have a small induction program which our volunteer management team undertakes, and we kind of introduce them to the culture of the organization, because we also need to prepare them, because each organization has its own approach, the way of behavioral culture. So Samarthanamdu enu yav tara, and our people are very open, they accept when volunteers comes. So we also talk a lot to our own staff and our children that volunteers are assets, so you need to be willing to encourage and accept them and embrace when they come, because they come with lot of expectation and affection, as our Prasanna counseling center sir was telling. So affection, they come with affection, we have to reciprocate, and definitely we have to create a system which gives them a comfort to render their valuable service. I think that's what we normally do.
Thanks, Mitesh. Anand, if you could tell me, what do you do before the volunteer actually comes in? So you've been working with an organization that's entirely run on volunteers for over 30 plus years. Is there something specific that you do with a volunteer before they actually join you? Or what is the foundation that you lay before the person actually starts work, which keeps them going right through, is what you would like to hear about?
ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಈ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹೆ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂದುವರಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ಪಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸಲ ಅನೇಕ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಸೂತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೋಣಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಲ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದನೇ ನಾವು ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ನೀವು ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಯು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಟೇಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ so that everything will become very clear to you. Clarity is the prime thing. ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಈ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನು ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮುಂದೆ ಅವನು ನಮ್ಮ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಎಂದಾಗ ಮತ್ತೆ 2 ತಿಂಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ನ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಇನ್ ಡೆಪ್ತ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ಸು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ ಎ ವೇ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಆತ್ಮವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಬೆಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ನ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ತಾನು ಈ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂದುವರಿಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೌಶಲ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಆಗ ಅವನು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಶಕ್ತಿ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ತುಂಬಲೇಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ನನಗೆ ವಾರಕ್ಕೆ 2 ದಿನ ಸಮಯ ಇದೆ, ನಾನು ಪ್ರತಿ ಶನಿವಾರ ಅಥವಾ ಶುಕ್ರವಾರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಫ್ ಎನಿಬಡಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲರ್ ಆನ್ ಎ ವಾಲಂಟರಿ ಬೇಸಿಸ್, ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್. ಅದು ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಥಿಂಗು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ವಿತ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್, so that one can take up that work without any training. But our center is a different type of activity going on center. So there he needs certain skills which is already inside him, but it has to be streamlined. So those things we do it. ಅದು ಮಾಡಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿಯೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, as he has put it, he has to follow certain rules and regulations. It is not very tough. Only thing is, generally we will be telling a client can be not punctual, but counselor should be very punctual. client should not wait for the counselor. Counselor can wait for the client. So this discipline should be there. At the same time, a counselor, he will realize, definitely I got limitation. The moment I take up the training, I should not feel I know everything. No, it cannot happen. But in our center, there is such a wonderful system. If when in the course of my discussion with a client, I am stuck at some point, say, definitely I go, I will not go into panicky. Definitely there is a procedure which has been taught to me. I close the session at that time. Then I interact with my other senior counselors so that I get the answer for that particular problem or how to solve that problem. So these types of the things, if that atmosphere is there, definitely as a volunteer, I will have a confidence in me so that I can continue in that. So that type of training and that type of support from the center and that type of openness in the center helps me to continue in that organization as a volunteer. That is needed in all the organizations, but in our organization, as I put it, whoever wants to become a counselor, definitely he should get the training to take up this work so that he can deliver it in a very, very effective way. ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಹೆಸರೇ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನ ಪೇಜಾವರದ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಗಳು ಆ ಹೆಸರು ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾರು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಪನ್ನರಾಗಿರ್ತಾರಂತೆ, ದುಃಖಿತರಾಗಿರ್ತಾರಂತೆ, ಕುಗ್ಗಿ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾರಂತೆ, ಉತ್ಸಾಹ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತಂತೆ, ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಬತ್ತಿ ಹೋಗಿರುತ್ತಂತೆ. ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತೆ ತುಂಬಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವರನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೊಠಡಿಯಿಂದ ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಅವ್ರ ನಗುಮುಖದಿಂದ ಹೋಗಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರಿಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವರು ಹೆಸರನ್ನ ಸೂಚಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಹೆಸರಿನ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ 33 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಅವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ವಿಭಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದು ದಾಂಪತ್ಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರಬಹುದು, ವಯೋವೃದ್ಧರ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರುವುದು, ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ 3 ವಿಭಾಗ, ಒಂದು ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಸ್ವಾಸ್ಥ್ಯ, ಒಂದು ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಗೊಂದಲ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ. ನಾವು ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಸ್ವಾಸ್ಥ್ಯವನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಗೊಂದಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೆಂಟಲಿ ಅಜಿಟೇಟೆಡ್, ಮೆಂಟಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ಡ್. ಇಫ್ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟ್ ಇಟ್ ರೈಟ್, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಟೆಂಡ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಇಲ್ನೆಸ್. ಅದು ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಎಟ್ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇಫ್ ಎ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಗುಡ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲರ್ wherein he can get guidance to overcome his disturbances, he will again get back his positive mental health. So ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಗೂ ಬೇಕಾಗುವ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಜನಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಅವರು ಹೇಗೆ ವ್ಯವಹರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಪ್ರತಿ ಗುರುವಾರ, ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಥರ್ಸ್ಡೇ ಆಫ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಮಂತ್, ನಾಟ್ ಪ್ರತಿ ಗುರುವಾರ, ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಥರ್ಸ್ಡೇ ಆಫ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಮಂತು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೈಕಿಯಾಟ್ರಿಸ್ಟು ನಾವು ಯಾವ ಕೇಸ್ನ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅದರ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ವಿಮರ್ಶೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ತಪಸ್ವಾಧ್ಯಾಯ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋ ತಪಸ್ಸು ಅಂದರೆ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಡೀಲೇಬೇಕು. ಯಾವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಕೂಡ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಆಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
We are running a little short of time, so this will be the last question on stage, after which we open it up to the audience. Sure, please.
One extra point in how we engage with volunteers. Some of our programs start with a guide of 60 to 70 pages. The same version of the program is given in a 15 to 20 page guide. The same version of the program is given in a 2-page guide. The same version of the program is given in a 1-page task list. So what we try to do is appeal to 3 kinds of volunteers. One, who are the really enthusiastic people, you don't have to push them anywhere. They'll anyway come and volunteer. So now they need more data to work with. So we give them the detailed guide. Second is people who are sitting on the fence. I'm interested, but I don't know if I have time or not. So all you need to do them is give them the right tools and make it sound simpler. But it has to be detailed enough for them to not to oversimplify it. So we give them the 10-page guide and say these are the activities, these are the way you can get involved. And the last set of volunteers who really don't want to come, just engage them with the conversation, give them the task list. If they turn up to the program, it's fine. If they don't turn up to the program, it's still fine. But you already sensitize them, saying that you are welcome anytime. So these three. So the point I'm trying to make is, even if the program is very clear to you, you'll have to probably present it to different people in different ways. Don't feel shy to create multiple versions of it. There'll be enough people to take different versions of it. Like some people don't like long emails, some people like short emails. So they're all versions of people. So just try to understand the mental aspect of your volunteer, what they like, and try to sell that point.
It's interesting that we have different types of programs being put together and different ways of engaging volunteers around. The last question before we actually turn this over to the audience, very, very briefly, about 60 seconds to each of you all on the stage. The bigger question that generally comes up is, how do you measure and ensure that you have quality of work being taken care of while you engage volunteers? That's something that we've heard quite often about, because the notion generally is that if it's an employee, I'm going to be able to implement the quality of the work, but with a volunteer, it's not so easy. Would probably very briefly get to understand what you do as an organization to be able to ensure the implementation and the program implementation and monitoring of quality work of volunteers. Sabha, if you can take it and just pass it.
One of the key aspects, I think we have to invest the same kind of energy, the same kind of training that we do in an employee. The same kind of training has to also go to a volunteer. What we do at Dream a Dream is we have something known as a project mentor. So in case a person is coming for a longer time, is going to work on a project which has specific objectives, specific deliverables, the person is assigned a person who can actually train them, provide them resources, answer their questions. And that, I think, is an investment which really reaps benefits, because at the end of it, you are able to actually get quality work done from a volunteer. So it's very important to guide them, to mentor them, invest in their training, because that will ultimately help the organization.
Instead of monitoring the volunteer closely, we try to monitor the ground level effect. So our volunteers directly interact with the students. So all our qualitative analysis is based on what the students have understood. So I'm not going to judge a volunteer because they're spending the time to do it, but I'm going to judge the impact on the ground. That will give me a clear understanding of how effective the volunteer has been. So based on which we can come back and take measures that can improve the volunteer. Second is, we have a very comprehensive management system, volunteer management system, which tracks the number of hours they have done, which schools they have gone, which day they have been, how much training they have attended. So that from the qualitative analysis compared to the amount of effort we put into each volunteer gives us a clearer idea as to where they are. So that is one sure shot. Since this is going to be the last question, I'm going to add one best practice that we were clearly trained on to understand, till which we were not aware. For all people who engage with volunteers, you need to identify one or two people in your organization who have the skill of networking. People who network are people who generally talk. So they do not have expectations when they're talking to somebody. They basically absorb information and give other information that they have. And this is a set of people who actually carry your volunteers forward. Okay, in my organization, there are two people in Bangalore, me and Arvind is here. Arvind is a softer guy, so people, like somebody in the morning was saying with a smile, Arvind is the one who always smiles, I'm the bad cop. So they come to me when there's a problem, when they want to say good things, they go to Arvind. But that is the kind of nature that you want, somebody who can go talk to everybody, somebody who can make everybody feel comfortable, somebody who can talk other than the work that they are doing. So it might be something like somebody wants to find a school for their kid, you might have a suggestion to it. Somebody who's looking for a job, you might have a suggestion for it. These are people who make the organization feel like rather like a community instead of a family, other way around. So it makes them feel like a family. So please invest time in training your people, training your employees in clear skill called networking. There are a lot of companies which spend a lot of money in getting a lot of high-level people to do this training. we can always get it for free because we are NGOs. So keep a lookout for the organizations that are ready to help you on this. And it plays a big role in your success.
So, just to continue where our other panelists spoke on this, one is the impact of what the volunteers' involvement has made. So, especially to talk about their impact, Samarthanam produced first visually impaired chartered accountant that was purely with the support from volunteers. So like that, 3 of our visually impaired students could go up to IIMs, Bangalore, Lucknow and Calcutta. Again, it was through volunteers. So like this, these are some significant impacts which are very, very clearly visible. And two, as our friend said, we have a recording system which records the number of hours which volunteers spends in a particular program. So Lalita madam compiles everything together and monthly we generate a report. So there are a lot of senior volunteers whose involvement brings multiple values to the organization. The name, the brand, the visibility, the money, and the expertise and motivation for ourselves when CEOs and MDs of different companies come and spend time with us. The kind of motivation they bring in, the positive vibes they bring into the organization is definitely beyond any measurement. But definitely organizations have to have a system to measure and also create a plan how each of the volunteers can add value to the organization. So this is going to be the last question. So on behalf of Samarthanam and myself, definitely compliments the efforts of our friend Venkatesh Murthy sir, whom I met in US in 2004-05 when he was working. So a person like him coming down all the way, leaving his job and doing something like this deserves a lot of admirations and a lot of people who have joined him. So I think he has motivated many, so more are being motivated. So I wish YFS emerge as a major volunteer force in the country. So thank you.
ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕೆಲಸ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಯ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಇದನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸೋದು ಅನೇಕ ಸಲ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ದೃಷ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಬಂದಾಗ ಅವರ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ತೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹೆಗಾರರಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಹೊಂದಾಣಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅವರು ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ರೀತಿ ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗಿ ಅವರು ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸರಿಯಾಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದೇನಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವ್ರು ಹೋದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕೆಲಸ ಅಥವಾ ನಾನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿದ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಸಂವಹನ ಇದೆ, ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ವಾಪಸ್ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಬರಲೇಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ನಮ್ಮದಾಗಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಹೌ ಫಾರ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನನಗೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ನನ್ನ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಮೀರಿ ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅಷ್ಟು ನನ್ನ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ಟು ದಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್. ಅದು ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಪತ್ತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಅವರು ಬಂದು ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂದರ್ಭಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಲ ನಾವು ಮಾಡುವ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಸರಿ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋಣ. ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಹತ್ರನೋ ನಮ್ಮ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಹತ್ರನೋ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋದು. ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪ್ಲೇ ದಿ ಗೇಮ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಗೇಮ್, ವಿನ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಗೇಮ್, ಲೂಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಗೇಮ್. Winning may bring you fame, losing is never a shame. Whether it is life or game, it is always the same. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡುವ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಪ್ರತಿಫಲ ಬಂದೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಫಲ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಕಾಯ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ನನ್ನ ಕೌಶಲ್ಯವನ್ನು ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕೋ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಅಥವಾ ಅಟೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕ್ಶಾಪ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆಯೂ ಕೂಡ ನಿಚ್ಚಳವಾಗಿ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ.
We have a few questions from the audience. We've kind of prioritized them about questions that are more relevant to in the space of volunteering. The first question, and we'll probably have one of you choose to answer each of these questions, unless the audience has specifically asked for the question to be focused on one of you. The first question we have here is, what is the most difficult situation you faced as an NGO while engaging volunteers, and how do you overcome it? So, who would like to take this question? What is the most difficult situation you faced as an NGO while engaging volunteers, and how do you overcome it?
The nightmare situation for any organizer is when people don't turn up. So the most difficult situation is when we've convinced everybody that has to be convinced that this program is the most important program in the student's life, and volunteers don't turn up on that particular day for any reason. It can be personal, it can be lack of interest, whatever. That is pretty much the situation that we are looking at. How do we tackle it? We make sure the programs goes ahead. If not the entire audience of, we ask them to give us a chance to go and outright impress the students so that we can come back and talk to them later. But that is easily the most difficult part.
Thank you, Kamal. Does that answer the question? Ras? Okay, so the next question is actually addressed to Sabha and Kamal. How do you engage international volunteers?
We tied up with a couple of organizations. One is called IDEX. These were international volunteers who were already working in India with a lot of government schools. So what we did was we tagged along with them. So we trained them on our programs. So they were spending an entire year in each of these schools. That was one of the initiatives that we took. Otherwise, there are a lot of exchange students who come down and come to colleges that we are already working in. Some of these students are always on Facebook and they're looking out for opportunities to come and engage with Junior Achievement. And Junior JA is present in about 125 countries, so most of these students have heard of JA before. So when they come to India, they want to be in a system that is slightly familiar to them. So that's one more reason we get international volunteers.
Sabha, question again. How do you engage international volunteers?
Apart from universities, tying up with universities and various fellowship organizations, another thing that really works is being really active on social media. That is one platform which is global. Everyone has access to either Facebook, Twitter, to your own website. Keep replenishing the kind of articles that you are posting on these social platforms, because a lot of people see them and get inspired by them. Also posting stories of international volunteers who have already done work with you, their testimonials, their quotes. It helps a lot to engage new people who want to come to India and volunteer.
The next question is again addressed to Sabha and Kamal. Two parts to this question. Volunteers are always willing to come on weekends but not on weekdays. How do you manage that? Number one. And the second question is, apart from getting skills and time, can a volunteer also become a regular donor? And if yes, how do you do that?
The easiest way of tackling the weekend issue is you work on weekends and take off on a weekday. That's the easiest way. Apart from that, that's a common issue that a lot of us face, because the volunteer pool are generally people who are doing other kind of work. They're either students or are working somewhere. It is very important for an organization to be flexible, and Dream a Dream is extremely flexible in designing of these volunteer programs. We usually leave it to individuals to come up with their own ideas of how do they want to contribute and in what capacity. They decide the hours, they decide what skills, they decide which project. So it's very much something that you do by choice. So there's no limitation, or there's no regulation from our side that you can do only one particular kind of thing. What was the second part?
Can Can volunteers also become donors? And if yes, how do you do that?
Volunteers can become donors. The primost thing firstly is to provide them a very, very meaningful and valuable volunteering experience. Once they are really keyed into the kind of work that the organization is doing and they believe in it, not because an organization talks about it, but because they have felt that change themselves, they become a spokesperson, they become an ambassador. What they do is not only do more themselves, but they inspire 10 people who they interact with on a daily basis. These people usually also want in some way to add into the resource pool of the organization, and they can be wonderful donors. And a wonderful example would be the marathons. We have a Bangalore 10K run every year, and a lot of different organizations participate in that. A lot of volunteers run, but not only do they run, but they race for the cause that they run for, which is a wonderful phenomena that has come in and which I think all of us here should actually benefit and participate in.
We primarily have all our classrooms on weekends, so we and the volunteers go well along on that part. If there is any weekday volunteering, we try to, if we want to encourage weekday volunteering, what we do is we try to create a week, say a corporate week. We pick one corporation, one company and tell them, why don't you send all your volunteers during this week? So typically corporates can find 1 week in a year to do that. Third thing that we do for weekdays, we target specific events in the corporate, which they want to do outside. So we pick 1 day of the year where they come and do it. So otherwise, we always encourage our volunteers to come on weekends. We want it to be their day off from their regular work. And like she said, I like to take Monday off, so Saturday, Sunday is a better time to work. Individual donors, right now we do not accept individual donors. Most of our funding comes from corporates. They either fund individual programs or individual cities or individual competitions. The kind of financial regulations and all other headache that my boss takes care of is too much for us to accept individual donors right now. So all of it is corporate funding right now.
So if I could just take the liberty on behalf of the audience, I think the question is from those involved in the sector of education, because the question is more focused about how do you ensure you get the volunteers during a weekday versus a weekend, because you have a lot of people from the corporate background who prefer to come down on a weekend, but getting the school typically functions only during a weekday. So is there any mantra that you've kind of figured out which works very well to get more weekday volunteers? Is that the question, audience? Someone who put up this question? Unfortunately, we don't have the names here. Or do we let it pass?
So two things. Like I said, for the schools that we target on weekends actually work on weekends. They do not come for us specifically. So we make sure there is no extra burden on the students or the school that they have to specifically come for it. But at the same time, there are a lot of ICSE and CBSE schools that only work on weekdays. So we have a small band of dedicated individual volunteers who can take a couple of hours off once in a while. So, but the ratio of weekday versus weekend is far ahead for us, individual. And we like to keep it that way because weekends is the only time the students are slightly in a mood to listen to you also. So weekdays we try to typically avoid as much as we can.
Sure. So we've got a few more questions and we will come to that, but I would probably just walk down and ask the audience if you all have a question that you would ask the panelists. Probably just introduce yourself and also guide the question off to one of the panelists, if you could name them. Yeah.
Hi, I am Navendu, and this question is for Kamal. I congratulate you for the kind of organization you run. I just want to know what kind of professionals do you target as volunteers to come for your organization apart from the corporates? So do you have varied kinds of professionals who come? Thanks.
It is as varied as it can be. That much I can tell you. We do not specifically go looking for a professional, specific profession or an industry, because all our programs are agnostic to the industry. All our programs are exploratory programs where we're equipping the student with kind of a framework that they can use to explore. What the volunteer brings along is their own experience of making those decisions. The question was, are we looking specifically how varied it is? Out of 220 volunteers, there are a lot of software engineers, unfortunately. I come from the same background, so don't get offended. But having said that, they are the people who have been most affected by choosing wrong careers. So they are the best people to go and propagate the information to the next generation, saying that be very careful about what you want to do. Other than that, we have manufacturing sector. Other than that, we have services sector. You have your financial sector people coming in. So there are multiple sectors that are involved, and we try to mix it as much as we can.
Thank you, Kamal. Anyone else? Questions?
ಈಗ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ನ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರು ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ನೀಡ್ ಫುಲ್ಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಒಂದು ಅವರು ಈಗ ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಬಟ್ ನನಗೆ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ನೀಡ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಅರ್ನಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಗಾಂಧೀಜಿಯವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾವತ್ತು ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲೋ ಅವತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ದೇಶದ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳ ಕಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಜನ ಅನ್ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ಸು ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಈ ಥರದ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಎನಿವನ್
ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್?
ಖಂಡಿತ ನಾವು ಈ ವಾಲಂಟ್ರಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನು ತುಂಬ ಸಿಟಿಗಳಲ್ಲೇ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಆದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸಿಟಿ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿದ ಗ್ರಾಮದಲ್ಲಿರೋರು ಕೂಡ ಅನೇಕ ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ ಈ ಥರ ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ NGOs ಅನ್ನೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗೋದೇನೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾರಣ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ಇಂಥವರಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಗ್ರಾಮಾಂತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು NGOಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ಥಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅಥವಾ ಯಾರೋ ಸಿಟಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿರೋ NGOಗಳದ್ದ ಸಹಯೋಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಗ್ರಾಮಾಂತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು NGOಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ಥಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಆ ಗ್ರಾಮದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಇರೋ ಯಾರು ಯುವಕರು ಅಥವಾ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ಪಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರ ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಈ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಏನೇನು ಬೇಕೋ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನುಕೂಲಗಳನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶಿಕ್ಷಣವನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದನೇ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ವಾಲಂಟ್ರಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಬಹುದು, ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ಇದೆ ಅವರು 10 ಜನ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವರ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಹೊಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಅಥವಾ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕೆಲವು NGOಗಳ ಹತ್ರ ಬಂದಾಗ ಒಬ್ಬರೋ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ತಾವು ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ಕೂಡ ಈ NGO ಜೊತೆ ಸಹಯೋಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ತಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೊಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಮೊಟ್ಟ ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ತಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತ ಒಂದು NGOನ ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಮಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೊಳಿತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ.
Since we have here from the audience.
ಶ್ರೀಧರ್, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಏನಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ನನ್ನ ಸ್ವಂತ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಮತ್ತು ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ರೀತಿ ನನ್ನ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಏನಂದರೆ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕ ಅಂದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೇ NGOನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಅನುಶಾಸನ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆನಂದ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗು ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ನು. ಕಮಲ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಯುವರ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಡೀಲಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇವರು ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇರಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವೆ ಅಂದಾಗ ಅನೇಕ ಸರಿ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಾಬಿನಾ ಅಂತ. ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಲೈಫ್ ಮಿಷನರಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕನಾಗಿ ಸೇರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಅದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಸಭಾ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಅನೇಕ ಜನರನ್ನ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಈವೆಂಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರು ಕಾರಣಕರ್ತರಾಗ್ತಾರೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಲೀಡರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಸುಧಾರಣೆಯ ಹರಿಕಾರರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮೈಂಡ್ಸೆಟ್ ಇಂದ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮೈಂಡ್ಸೆಟ್ಗೆ ಅದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಯಾವುದೇ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅವಾಗ ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಸು ಮತ್ತು ರಿಪ್ಲಿಕಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಇರಕ್ಕೆ ಬದಲು ಆನಂದ್ ಅವರು ಅವ್ರ ಮಾತಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು 2000 ಜನ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಜಾಗನೇ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರವ್ರು ಇರೋ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಇಂದ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್, ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್, ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ಸ್, ಈವನ್ ಸೇವೆ ಸರ್ವಿಸು ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಭ್ರಷ್ಟತೆ ಇದೆ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಒಬ್ಬ ಆರ್ ಟಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾನೊಂದು ಆರ್ ಟಿ ಒಂದು ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಹಾಕಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫೈಲಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಅವರು ಅಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ವೆರಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್. ಆ ರೀತಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಇಂದ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋ ಒಂದು ಮೆಟಮಾರ್ಫಿಸಸ್ ಅದು NGOs ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗು ಮತ್ತೆ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳು ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕನಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತ ನಡೆಗೆ, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮಾತುಗಳು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಪ್ಯಾನಲ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ.
ಶ್ರೀಧರ್ ಅವರು ಬಹಳ ಒಂದು ಡೀಪ್ ಆಗಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸತಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ಸ್ ಅಡಿಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ಅಡಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಆದಾಗ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ದೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೋ ಡೀಪ್. ಐ ನೋ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ Samarthanam for the last 10, 13, 14, 15 years, and also even there were volunteers who were helping me, they are also associated. In a way, they become activists. They feel for it, they talk about it, they worry about it, they kind of create vision and work towards. ಆವಾಗನೇ ಒಂದು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಥಾಟ್. ಸೊ ವಿ ಆಲ್ ಶುಡ್ convert volunteers into activists whose contribution, whose involvement impact can make a huge difference in the particular program where they involve, or even sometimes it may be restricted to a particular person. When you start mentoring a person, you got to kind of, I don't say you have to push it or aggressively work. You ensure the person who is getting mentored is prepared and starts performing and delivers or reaches the stage which organization wants that particular individual to reach through the volunteer. So I think it's a very noble thought. So I think I personally accept it. And many volunteers, there's our access ಇರುತ್ತೆ ತುಂಬ. ಕೆಲವು ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ರೀಚ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ, ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸತಿ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭವನ್ನು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಲಾಬಿ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಎ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್. ಈ ಥರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ, ಬೋತ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಬ್ರಾಡ್. ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಅಸ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಾನ್ ಅಬ್ರಾಡ್, ಮೇಕ್ ಎ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್. ಒಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವರ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಈ ಅಮೆರಿಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟೀಸ್ನ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡ್ ಥಾಟ್. I don't know whether I answered or could try and understand. So that's what I feel.
Thanks, Mahesh. Last question from the audience.
ಹಲೋ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಅಂತ. ಸರ್, ಈ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರು ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವರು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸ್ಪೋಕನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಬಟ್ ಕೆಲವರು ಎನರ್ಜೆಟಿಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಚೀನ ಕಲೆಗಳಂತೇನಿದೆ, ಕುಸ್ತಿ, ಕಬಡ್ಡಿ, ಈ ಥರದ ಕ್ರೀಡೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗ್ಬೋದು. ಆದರೆ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಪಿಡುಗಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ?
ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಬರೋಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ಒನ್ ಎಟ್ ಎ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಂತ, ಒನ್ ಚೈಲ್ಡ್ ಎಟ್ ಎ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ತನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತಾನು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವನು ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ನಿರ್ಮೂಲನೆ ಅದಲ್ವಾ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ? ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ನಿರ್ಮೂಲನೆ ಮಾಡೋದಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಲೇ ಇರೋ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಅಂತ ಹುಡುಕೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ. ಆದರೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಲ ಈ RTI ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ತಡೆಯೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಜಗಜ್ಜಾಹೀರ ಆಗೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾವ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ನಾವೇನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ತಾನು ದೇಶಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ದೇಶ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ತಾನು ಯಾವ ಯಾವ ತ್ಯಾಗಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ತಾನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಆದರ್ಶ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಆಗಬಹುದು, ದೇಶದ ಸಮಗ್ರ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಆಗಬಹುದು. ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಅನೇಕ ಸಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ಅನ್ನೋದೊಂದು ಪಿಡುಗು, ಈ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ಹೋಗಲಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ನನ್ನಿಂದನೇ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗಲಿ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಅನ್ನೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಂಗಲ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಎನಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಆನ್.
ಒಂದು ಸರ್ವಿಸು ಮತ್ತು ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟಿವ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್, ಇದೆರಡರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ನಮಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಟಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಕೂಡ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ಲೆಸ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸು, RTI ಕೂಡ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ಲೆಸ್ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿವಸ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಅನೇಕ ವಿಷಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ RTI ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಆದರೆ RTI ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋರು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಆಡಳಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಧಾರಣೆ ತರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾತ್ರ RTI ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪಡಿತೀವಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು RTI ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಯಾರನ್ನೋ ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಇದನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಇದೇನೋ ಒಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿಸಿದಾಗ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅದು RTI ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮೇಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ RTI ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ದುರ್ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ಬಹಳ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ RTI ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಇದೊಂದು ಸೇವೆ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ಇಡೀ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಧಾರಣೆ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟಿವ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ನಾವು RTI ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಸೀತಾರಾಮ್, ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರದ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಅಂಶ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ಈ ಒಂದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮಯದ ಇದು ಸಾಲದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಅಂಶ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಕೆಲಸ. ಈ ಸಮಯವನ್ನ ಅವ್ರ ಸಮಯವನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಆಗದೇ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಸಮಯ ಸಾಲದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರು ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಈ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಯಾವುದೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆ ಮಟ್ಟದ್ದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ವೆದರ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ದೆಮ್ so that these people will not pay for that, so that work is get done. That we can see. This is one area where we can help in a big way. ಇದನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ.
We have a few more questions by the audience, but we're running short of time, so we may not be able to answer them. But what I'm going to request the panelists to do is, I'll collate all these questions and mail it out to you all. If you could answer it, we will be happy to share it with all the participants. Chris, you've got a question too. Sure. We're running a little short of time.
Nowadays, as I am seeing, people are more sympathetic, not empathetic. People are not coming forward because if I raise a question, I may be targeted. That is one threat that every individual is suffering from. The reason for which nobody is coming forward to protest against corruption, malpractice. That's the main reason. And There are institutions, Dalit Sangarsha Samiti, Praja Vimochana Chaluvali. We are not joining our hands. We have kept them aside. Why don't we all just give our good support for the positive change in the society? This is possible if I first and you next can make this change. This is my opinion and direct reply to my dear friend who raised the question.
I'm sorry, we're really running short of time around. Going back to the stage, last 2 points that we would like to talk about before we wrap up for lunch is while we're volunteering, there's another very interesting angle that comes up about how you handle liability of volunteers, right? There are things that could go wrong both at an organization end or at a volunteer end. Is there something specific that you've already crafted around from a liability standpoint is the first question. After which, so this is something that each of you would be answering in, and also sharing any best practices with the audience about what they could implement when they leave today, right? So if you could start off.
Firstly, we should change our thought process. Volunteers, not to see them as a liability, but see them as an asset. The second thing is volunteer engagement in itself is a practice or a field in which you can actually cover costs of volunteering. There are a lot of corporations, and Kamal here has given a lot of example around corporate engagement. There are a lot of companies who want their employees to get engaged in socially responsible action. You are the people who can provide that action to them, that opportunity to them. And because we are organizations who are skilled in that kind of work, we should also charge them a fee of doing that. That actually covers the cost of volunteering that those organizations basically get from you. So you're providing a service to them and you're paid for that particular thing. One of the key things that Dream a Dream has started doing is we have started thinking of ways to make our volunteer engagement model sustainable. It is something that we can cover the cost of volunteering by actually raising funds through different forms of volunteer engagement, be it the corporate social responsibility projects, be it the marathons, be it engaging our individual volunteers into fundraising and becoming donors in the longer run. So I think that is a wonderful aspect to be looked into, and we should not hesitate. When we are giving a professional skill out into the world, we should actually start charging for them as well.
The liability, is that the question you meant?
So the question was more about, there is a possibility when the volunteer comes down to work with you, there is a liability at the volunteer's end, so the volunteer could get hurt around. There are things that could go wrong. So is there a practice that we've put together as an organization to be able to contain that, number one? And two, of course, best practices that you have as an organization to take back.
We have basic guidelines of interaction, and the feedback from the school and the teacher in the classroom is very important for us. So if something goes wrong, it gets reported very quickly. Second, we handle corporate volunteers all the time. So there is an internal lead who's taking care of the other aspects of volunteering, whether they are on time, whether they are dressed in proper dress code, are they addressing the students properly, what kind of language they are using. So that is kind of monitored between us and the lead who's around. The guidelines are pretty simple. They come with all the guides that we give them. We make sure we remind them before every training. That is pretty much it right now. And in the last 5 years, I have not seen any issue, at least from all the volunteers that we have faced. They've been kind to us. Best practices, I surely want to touch upon two things. Volunteer recognition. Something that is taken for granted because we feel the cause. That is why we're part of the organization that we are. Whether we quit our regular jobs and come, or we took it as a social service as our life, however you look at it. But a volunteer is taking time off to come and do something outside of their regular family work, their professional work and everything else. So consider your volunteer as somebody who has to be respected, at the same time appreciated at all times. So, and second thing is volunteers want to be part of success stories, right? So nobody wants to be part of a losing team. So make sure that communication between you, the volunteer, the organization, any stakeholder that you're part of is continuous. So within our organization, we actually have a table that keeps track of when was the last time I talked to somebody. When was the last time I emailed somebody? When was the last time I sent them the calendar? When was the last time we shared some success story from a student or a feedback? So that is critical. Third, as part of appreciation, we release something called a Roll of Honor. So in December every year, whether there are 2,000 volunteers or 100 volunteers in the organization, all of them are named, all of them are graded basically in terms of amount of time that they have spent. We don't mention the number of hours, but we grade them basically as gold members and whatever members where you want to put them along. But what it gives them is, first of all, they understand they're not alone. And second, they understand the number of different corporations, number of different people from different professions who are coming together to do this. So they feel part of a community rather than as an individual. Third, it is always available on the internet. So they can proudly go and show it to their family and friends. And that kind of gives them more energy to come back. So volunteer recognition is our prime focus, and constant communication is something else that you should be very aware of.
ನಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬರ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ನ ನಾವು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಫೈಲ್ ಓಪನ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಲ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬಂದರೆ ಆ ಫೈಲು ನಮಗೆ ಸಹಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ತೋರಿಸಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಆ ಫೈಲ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವರ ಪೂರ್ವಾಪರಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡನೇದು, ಇವರು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು 5 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸತತವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದು ಸೇವೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರನ್ನು ಸೇವಾ ದಿನ ಅನ್ನೋ ಆ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡೋ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಪಾಠ ನಾವು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಯಾವುದ್ಯಾವುದರೋ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟು ಸೇ ಎವ್ರಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ರೆಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ಡ್. ಎವ್ರಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಹಿ ಡಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಎ ವೇ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡೆಡ್. ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಗೌರವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವನೆ ನನಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಕೈಲಾದ ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ವಿಚಾರವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಪಕ್ಕಾ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹಣಕಾಸು ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳೋ ಪರಿಪಾಠ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾರು ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ಪಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರು ಹುಂಡಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕು ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾತ್ರ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಬಹುದು. ಆದರೆ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾಮಿನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಫೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಫ್ಯಾಕಲ್ಟಿಗಳಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಣ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಪ್ತ ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ತನ್ನ ಖರ್ಚು ವೆಚ್ಚಗಳಿಗೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕೋ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದಂಥವರು ಅವರೇ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ಯಾರು ಆ ಡಬ್ಬದೊಳಗೆ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
So volunteers can become a liability if they are not properly managed or handled. ಸೊ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಬಹಳ ಒಂದು ಉತ್ಸಾಹದಿಂದ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾವೇನೋ ಒಂದು ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸರಿಯಾದ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಗದೇ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಕಳೆಯೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಯಾರ್ದಾರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರು, ಅಥವಾ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಟೈಮ್ ವೇಸ್ಟು, ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅದು ಒಂದು ವ್ಯರ್ಥ ಆಗೋ ಒಂದು ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಬಂದಾಗ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಆಗಿ, ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ ದೆಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಶ್ಯೂರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಲಿ. So that you convert them into an asset. So I think a lot of my panelists spoke about recognition and recording. These are some best practices which continue to motivate volunteers and also involve them. One best example I would like to share, instead of repeating what my panelists spoke. In the last 16 odd years, Samarthanam is 16 years plus organization, and we have progressed year on year, growing at the rate of 30 to 40%. Samarthanam has created a plan of expanding and reaching out to serve 100,000 disabled people year on year from 2020. So to build this, we had involved around 30 staff and equal number of volunteers who have built businesses, who have expanded, replicated, scaled. So the kind of magnitude of their business, I think, brought a lot of value to us, their thought process. ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಈಗ ಪುಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. 2 ತಿಂಗಳಾಯಿತು ಈ ವಿಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ 2020ಗೆ 100,000 ಡಿಸೇಬಲ್ಡ್ನ ನಾವು ತಲುಪಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಎವ್ರಿ ಮಂತ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಸ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಸ್ ಟು ಶೋ ದಿ ಗ್ರೋತ್, ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರೆಸ್. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಅ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ರೇಸ್ 100 crores ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ಲಲಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂದರೆ 1/3 ಆಫ್ ದ time or money or expertise has to come from volunteers. So she has a big target. Like this, if you involve volunteers in the planning, they bring a lot of value. So Samarthanam has very consciously done it. Right from the day we started, volunteers have played a very, very significant role in whatever we are today, and they are going to play what we will be going to be in future also. ಸೊ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ನ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಅವರಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಪತ್ತನ್ನು ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್ ನಮ್ಮ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಮೂರ್ತಿಯವರ ನೇತೃತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ YFS ತೊಗೊಂಡಿರೋದು ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಡೀಲಿ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಂಘ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸಸ್ನ ಹಂಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಟು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ರೊಆಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of this panel discussion. I hope you enjoyed being here as much as we enjoyed having you all around. You all have been a wonderful audience in terms of being able to ask relevant questions and connect with us. This wouldn't have been possible without our esteemed panelists on board. We now would be breaking in for lunch, and back to Aditya, who will give you details about the schedule. Thank you again.
Before you get too hungry, learn a little bit of Excel, because it goes a long way in helping you send out reports. At least with major stakeholders who are paying you money, it's better to send them quarterly reports. It's not out of obligation, but just people who have invested time and money in you should know what you're doing. Not just the success stories of pictures, but actual numbers and how their money and time has been utilized. So that doesn't take more than a couple of hours of self-learning on the internet if you want to learn how to create tables and generate reports, or get hold of a computer science student from any of the college, BSc, BCA, MCA, whoever it is. They'll be able to set it up for you in less than half a day. So you don't have to invest real top money for it, but please invest time in it to generate good reports and send fanciful data to big managers. Yeah.
Thanks, Kamal. Once again, thank all the panelists. I would invite Mr. Kirti Shankar from Youth for Seva to give present mementos to all the panelists. Mr. Mahantesh from Samarthanam. Mr. Anand from Prasanna Counseling Center. Mr. Kamal from Junior Achievement. And Prabha from Dream a Dream. Also, a memento to the facilitator, Mr. Ramesh. Thank you.